Alia, I am the table chief of Table 3. Throughout July until yesterday, last Friday, Table 3 had our study session that are focusing on smart and accessible mobility in cities, which we also had a guest lecture from a researcher from ITDP Indonesia, and we had mentorship for a lecturer from Universitas Gadjah Mada, Indonesia. Today, we are going to present our results of studying and teamwork. Aside from this presentation, we will also have several outputs from the conference, which is a research report that will be released by the end of this month, and social initiative by activating our Instagram as an effort to raise awareness on mobility and accessibility issues and innovation from around the world. Then, meanwhile, we will introduce our table members.
Hello, my name is Minhua, and I am in charge of sub-table chief of Table 3. I will introduce all our table members. Anjali from India, Ryuji from Japan, Chavi from India, Chanchal from India, Danish from India, and Natalia from Germany. Next, please. And this is our agenda for today. First, we will present our research background, including the methods and the aims. Next, we will present the case studies from our table members. Then we will present things that we can learn from the cities. Finally, we will serve our conclusion and recommendations. Now we are going to present our work.
Thank you so much, Minhua, for your introduction. So today, based on the UN 2018, by 2050, almost 65% of the world populations are expected to be living in cities. Over time, the world cities continue to grow and expand, which is starting to generate numbers of issues, especially in the aspect of mobility. In recent years, technology advancement adopted for urban management creates the concept of smart mobility, which then becomes a framework to address mobility issues by incorporating digital technologies to quickly capture mobility problems in a real-time manner as a result, the authority can decide on the solution. However, smart mobility solution does not capture the problems and needs of all groups in cities yet. While smart mobility should be sustainable, safe, and accessible, improve transportation, and meets citizen mobility needs. In our research, we are focusing on the smart mobility dimension framework that are presented in the slide. And from the background and the framework, two questions arises. One, how to improve accessibility in smart mobility of cities so all group of people can be accommodated in mobilizing, and second, how to maximize smart mobility technology, infrastructure, and system. Next, we are going to enter the case studies from around the world, which is 4 cities from India, and then Singapore, Japan, Germany, and Indonesia. And we're going to use the approaches of smart technology to increase accessibility and mobility, and smart method to improve accessibility and mobility. And we are using qualitative through case studies method. We having the aims to find the commonalities and differences between cities, and then find the typology of problem, solution, and groups that are left behind in smart mobility dimension. And then we're going to compare and introducing the variants of digital technologies used by each cities. And finally, we are going to give recommendations that are going to be useful for local governance or other parties.
Thank you for explaining what smart mobility is and our purpose. I'm Miu, the sub-table chief of Table 3. So how are these actually working and showing up in cities around the world? Here, each table member will discuss the results of his or her own research on the city, which caught our interest. Now I would like to pass the mic to Xavi.
Thank you, Miu. So this case study focuses on Delhi Metro, the mass rapid transit system serving Delhi and its satellite cities. The network consists of 10 color-coded lines that can be seen on this screen, serving 255 stations with a total length of more than 300 kilometers. To counter the issues of intense traffic congestion, increased air pollution, and major concern of safety of residents on an everyday basis, the Delhi Metro was initiated as a cost-effective mode of travel, thus covering the spatial, temporal, and psychological dimensions respectively, as has been discussed before. With its unique structure, it has successfully catered to these issues, with its most significant achievement being recognition from the UN for its environment-friendly construction. Moreover, it is the first railway project in the world to earn carbon credits and has so far earned 400,000 carbon credits. However, as every other advancement, it does have certain shortfalls, as can be viewed on the screen, which call for need-based revisions. Some examples being high development cost, displacement of urban poor population, difficult to acquire land when it comes to land expansion, shortfall in ridership like what was seen in the COVID pandemic, increase in cost of parts, and the mass displacement of poor people and resultant legal concerns. Next, we move to the city of Bangalore, India. This case study parallels the one in Delhi in both situation and solution. The 1990s saw an IT boom in India with a huge influx of people in the city of Bangalore, which the city wasn't built for. So they introduced a project that we focus on, which is called the first suburban railway project in India by the BSRP, or the Bangalore Suburban Railway Project. It serves as an extension to the pre-existing metro, connecting important regions, junctions, and districts. The advantage of this is that it takes vehicles away from the streets and does not require any revamp of current systems like road expansion, which may prove to be worse, like that happened in the case of Delhi, or the introduction of new technology that is not yet ready to be used on a mass scale like EV or electronic vehicles. That's it for Bangalore. Next, we are going to move to the village RV in India.
Now, this study taken through the survey of villages, as they are measures taken under consideration for the development of city in smart and accessible mobility. Even though there are some facilities, but they are not that much accessible for the people. Due to congested of roads, the accidents happen and innocent pedestrian and cyclist people hurt in accident. Now it's called for the action to improve all infrastructure and transportation facilities in the villages as per the smart and accessible mobility concern. Next, we move to the Delhi.
Yeah, so this case study focuses on the children-friendly streetscapes in Delhi. Nowadays, children are spending their time more in their homes rather than carrying out any activities on the streets, such as cycling, walking, running, and playing. So, I did a case analysis on how friendly and safer are Delhi streets for children. The current scenario of the Delhi streets is like children are unable and don't express eagerness to walk out from their homes to buy something or to spend some time outside and playing or running. So maybe due to the various reasons like high congestion issues, narrow walk streets make uncomfortable, and unaesthetic view of the streets don't seem to be playful and learning experience for children. So the vision should be to create a smarter, safer, greener, playful, and learning environment for children. I did the SWOT analysis of the subject area where the strengths are to advance the motor skills and build a sense of independence among children. The weakness would be children will end up spending more time outside rather than studying, and the risk and also risk their physical injuries. So whereas the opportunities would be to make more colorful streets to attract children with innovative designs to provide learning space to them, and threat could be possibly that it may give rise to concerns of kid safety and likely injuries while playing. I would like to close this case by quoting Enrique Peñalosa, former mayor of Bogota, said, "If we can build a successful city for children, we will have a successful city for all." Now we are going to Tokyo, Japan.
Thank you, Anjali. Next, I would like to introduce a case study of Tokyo. Japan has been working on smart cities throughout the country in recent years, and one of the most advanced efforts in taking place is Takeshiba in Japan, and which is the Abe city. Takeshiba has several modes of transportation, and various technology have been used to smooth them out. One example is a collaboration among transportation companies. It makes it possible to use the same period transportation cards for all transportation systems. Next, we are going to Singapore.
This case study focuses on Singapore transportation, with Singapore facing urban mobility challenges such as land and manpower constraints, an aging population. There are rising expectations for a comprehensive and efficient public transport system. Autonomous vehicles were introduced to meet these expectations. An autonomous vehicle is a vehicle capable of sensing its environment and operating without human involvement. The human passenger is not required to take control of the vehicle at any time, nor is a human passenger required to be present in the vehicle at all. I did SWOT analysis of the subject and real where strengths are at the advance of efficiency and convenience of transportation. Weakness would be reducing drivers' employment, whereas the opportunities would be increasing opportunities to ride in a car, and threat would be unclearness of the driving responsibility of when accidents happen. Next, we are going to Germany.
As for Ludwigshafen, we're talking about the infrastructure. The city is an industrial one, which was planned as a city for cars after its large deconstruction in the Second World War. But the lack of maintenance and planning led many roads and even bridges to the neighboring city to be closed or under construction. Also, there is deconstruction of many infrastructural parts planned that are not in use. The resulting issues are large traffic jams, larger detours, and loss of time and money, of course, of the people participating in traffic. We hope that the city can learn from their past planning and improve as a location in an industrial area. Now, finally, let's go to Jakarta.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Now I'm going to introduce one of the smart mobility implementation in the sense of mobility ecosystem in Jakarta, Indonesia. Jakarta itself has a problem of public transportation integration because we have so many various transportation modes that we can choose as a inhabitant. In recent years, Jaklingko, one of the company in Jakarta, is an integration system that exists in between the people, which the purpose is to integrate between all the transportation modes, including the application for the maps and the route findings, and then payment cards, and then also the transportation modes itself. And then in the transportation and the station itself, they are also serve designated facilities for people who are with disabilities. But I'm going to present the problems in Jakarta is that the various transportation modes are not integrated, and then the route is complicated, and then there is a different standard of services for disability group. But the action which is already done by the government and also the Jaklingko company is that technology improvement for the public transportation integration, which is including the payment application and the routes and the wayfindings and then other things. And then the second one is the service improvement for disability people, which is adding the technologies, infrastructure, etc.
So let us wrap up. What can we learn from all those case studies? Our first question was how to improve accessibility and smart mobility of cities, so all groups of people can be accommodated in mobilizing. Our points are to make sure that the voices of people and their needs are heard, and to plan accordingly to the city's current needs, while also thinking about the sustainable future visions. How to maximize smart mobility technology infrastructure and the systems. We propose on working with and improving upon the structures that are already there, keeping the needs of the people living there and working there and going to the cities, of course, in mind. Something we also recommend is a larger representation of mobility as a service. It is a technological way to solve the problem of transportation challenges. It addresses the gap between public and private transport operators. Moreover, the various systems cooperating with one another. It integrates all transportation, for example, buses, planes, taxis, as one service to run smoothly in the transportation infrastructure. So the main takeaway points, very general with examples, are that city relies on proper and working infrastructure. So realistic planning is needed, like we witnessed with the example of Ludwigshafen. The implementation of new innovations like smart technology brings potential for improving our cities, as we have witnessed with Jakarta and Tokyo, for example. Not only can transportation made more efficient, but it grants also economic growth for the cities. So not only the living standard for the people is improved, but also the representatives have a real economic reason to improve their urban structures. So we can say smart mobility leads to efficient improvement.
Thank you, Natalie. Coming on to the recommendations, as the members of Table 3, here are a few recommendations that we should take for action to increase the accessibility and mobility smartly. First, to utilize existing infrastructure and services to be improved by smart technology. Second, to maximize technology to boost the existing infrastructure, services, and integration. Third, to use a bottom-up approach to gather the occurring problems in the geographical context. And lastly, to be attentive of existing group of people, wherein it becomes significant that we always keep in mind the human lens to always make any sort of advancement comfortable for every person living in a city or anywhere in the world. That's it for the recommendations. Over to Mio.
Okay. To wrap up, we're eager to raise awareness of accessibility and mobility smartly in our cities, and this is our first step. Thank you so much for being present today.
Thank you very much, Table 3, for your presentation.